So you're in the market for some new irons and you really like the look of the new TaylorMade irons. You walk into your pro shop and you go, should I get P790's or am I good enough for the new P770? Let's do it, and let's do it now. Hi everyone, James Robinson here. Guys, first things first, subscribe if you want to, but also how good do both these irons look? Guys, today we are we're comparing, because we've already reviewed both these clubs. I think we reviewed the P790 until the cows came home, but the P790 was a little bit of a kind of, it set the standard for me. I mean, it probably still is doing for hollow body construction irons, for decent feel, for long distance, I mean, if you're a mid-handicap player, you've probably tried these, and if you haven't tried them, then I don't know what you've been doing. See, it's a real funny one, because now we've got the P770, which just looks, I mean, just look at it, I'm going to start off, guys, we're going to go on the TaylorMade website and we're going to compare the P770 against the P790, like what it says here. So as you'll see on screen, the P770 and P790 are both forged, they both have speed foam, they're both available in right and left-handed. We start getting the differences when we start getting to the launch. So the P770 is designed for a mid-launch, the P790 a mid to low launch. Spin-wise, mid-spin for the P770, mid to low spin for the P790. Distance-wise, we've got 4 stars against 4.5 stars, if you can see that. Then forgiveness, 3 stars against 4 stars. Workability, 4 stars against 3.5 stars. Against 3.5 stars. Now, the initial intro to this video went like this. So you're in the market for some new irons and you really like the new TaylorMade ones. You look at them in the shop and you go, do I go P790 or P770? That was the wrong way around, because they look very similar. And that is a really interesting point, because even when I went to get this P790 out of the demo bag, you'll see the P790 is a demo, I picked out the P770 and I was like, well, yeah, this is the, I thought one was the other and the other was the one, if you know what I mean. I kind of got them mixed up, and that is the biggest praise I can give them both, because they both look very, very similar, but the P790 is just what that mid-handicap player, maybe even the high-handicap player, going even into the low-handicap player, has been screaming out for. Just a smaller, sleeker, sexier P790. So let's put these irons to the test. That's a lovely one to start with. These are definitely both distance irons. Straight off the bat, 173 yards for me is a pretty long way for a 7 iron. We're starting with the P770, then we're going to move back into the P790. P790 really, it surprised me, and I think it even surprised TaylorMade, because people played the P790 who really had no right playing the P790. We had low handicappers, even some pros, playing the P790 just because of how good it looks and then how it kind of worked, how it went so far. And it kind of gave people that bit of a confidence boost that in the golf world you just can't get. Well, maybe you can get it with this. So it was absolutely a no-brainer when TaylorMade, the designers, said, you know what, guys, we're going to make another P790, but it's going to be smaller. We're going to call it the P770, and it's probably going to sell like hot cakes. I've absolutely ripped that. It's been a little bit right, but I've ripped it. And I've tested these already, guys. If you want to see the full review of the P770, then I will link it somewhere in here now. It was only last week, I think I did it. But it just feels soft. And that's the one thing which, if I remember over the P790, the P790 didn't feel amazingly soft. That's arrow straight and it's 183 yards. Show up and take my money. So now we're going to hit some with the P790, and you'll see that this is a demo club because I wanted to match them shaft for shaft and everything like that. And the P790 set I have, or the half set I have, doesn't have these shafts in them. So we are playing these in exactly the same shaft. It is the KBS Tour 120 stiff, which is a stock shaft you can get in these. And as soon as I put the P790 down, that blade length is just a little bit longer, that top line is just a little bit thicker. So if you are kind of still consider yourself a high handicap golfer, and I hate categorizing irons with handicap, because you could be a high handicap because you can't go off the tee, you could be a high handicap because you can't putt, you can't chip, you're terrible out of bunkers. But I don't really know where I was kind of going with that, but it does give you a lot more confidence up at the ball. when these first came out, I considered them. I wasn't playing a lot of golf, I wasn't practicing at all. I looked at them and I thought, you know what? Yeah, like they look so good in the bag, and that's one thing which I think TaylorMade are well aware of what they've done initially with this one, and now with this one, the shelf appeal or bag appeal, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the P790 looks brilliant, looks sexy, looks gorgeous, but it wouldn't be what it is without this, would it? Because this was kind of a pioneer. And I know a lot of people will say, well, these aren't the only hollow body construction. We've got the Ping i500s, we've got the Cobra Forge tech, we've got all the... Yes, we have. But for me, these were the first ones, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in those comments, feel free to do so, but these were the first ones I tried anyway. Right. Come on, 183 to beat. It's not even a distance competition. I just want to compare them for you. I don't know why I said that, but anyway. Right, we can all go home now, because that's ridiculous. And you see, it is a mega funny one, because I often say in these videos, I'm quite a low spin player anyway, so these irons generally do not suit me. Obviously playing off a mat as well, I do like to try and get outside if I can, but we do live in England, in the north of England, in Yorkshire, and the weather isn't always as nice as it's oh, nearly went then, that's slippery, that one. The weather isn't always as nice as it could be, but guys, if you do want to see this comparison outside on the golf course with more irons, 2,000 likes and we'll do it, so make sure you smash that like button. Maybe let me know in the comments as well. Again, you know what, it looks actually now smaller. The P790 to me today actually looks smaller than what I remember it down at the ball. So I don't know if that's because I've spent time with its younger brother, its smaller brother, its younger cousin, its nephew, niece, I don't know what you would honestly call it. TaylorMade do say this is a bit of a sibling rivalry. And I do start to see that, to be fair. That's gone 194 yards. Very, very, very impressive, but I always knew it was going to be, we always knew it was going to be. The TaylorMade P790 is an impressive iron if you're looking for distance. Subnote, that one spun at 5,100, so take of that what you will. I'm absolutely ripping that, to be fair, as well. Right, we're going to hit 3 more with the P770, then go back into the P790, make it as fair a test as we can, and then we're going to have a look at the numbers. I'm going to tell you how different they feel, how different they sound. I'd say how different they look, but to be honest, these are both like a solid 8 or 9 out of 10 looks-wise. I mean, if we're going 10 out of 10, I don't really know what you could do more, but yeah. I'm just looking at them in the light there, and it's just brilliant. Just brilliant. Interestingly, I have spoken to a few people who have gamed hollow body kind of forged irons, and a lot of them have said initially the honeymoon period is amazing, it's fantastic, it's beautiful, but then it's like kind of unfortunately a lot of kind of relationships and goes a little bit more, we're really careful what I say here, not great. I don't know, and whenever I've tried to give things like this time, I've done just that, and then eventually like a 7-iron's popped up on me and it's gone 190 yards, which I'm never going to play. I'm never going to Bushnell a flag at 190, well, not unless it's downhill on a par 5, downwind out the rough, and play a 7-iron. When it's nice and calm, when there's no wind, when it's a flat lie, when it's a flat shot, 165 7-iron, I'm quite happy doing so. Maybe sneak up to 170, but not 183. I mean, these are consistent as well. There's a consistent little gap there, and the lofts are actually very, very similar. So if you're going to shout that the P790 is just way more lofted, that's not the case. They're both pretty strong, but not overly strong. Not like a 28-degree 7-iron, which we've tested in the past, and that was just a little bit silly. But right, 2 more. The P770 looks so good down at the ball, it really does. Actually, I felt like it had less offset. Personally, I felt like it had less offset than the P7MC looking down at the ball. And I mean, people in the comments told me I was wrong, but it's an opinion, so you can't really be wrong with an opinion. Someone said, well, this has point whatever millimeter offset, and the P7MC has point whatever millimeter offset. And I was like, well, yeah, that's fine. But for me, visually, it might be the way I sit the club down at the ball. It might be the way my head tilts a different way to yours down at the ball. But for me, the P770 looks like a better head down at the ball than the P7MC. Not the P7MB, because the MB was just glorious. But anyway. See, that was a little bit heely, and it's still gone 182. Wow. 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 Right, 1 more with the P770, then P790. That's the first one that's gone left as well, so I'm quite disappointed in myself there. But workability, it has got more workability. It said half a star, interestingly. Ah, that was terrible. Ah, you know, I tried to play a bit more of a cut there to average out the numbers, and I mean, it's still gone further than my 7-iron would, but that was really bottomy. It's good to see that you get away with them though, because I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this test would want to see me hit a shot like that and see what it does. Yes, I've lost 20 yards, or yeah, like 18 yards, but it's still gone. I mean, it's still gone, but I've lost 20 yards. So in relation to the good shots, is it that forgiving? It's forgiving in relation to my MBs, don't get me wrong, but I'm just thinking, well, you'll be playing this at 180, 185, wouldn't you? Anyway, I'm confusing myself now. Right, P790, let's just see what we can get here. Hopefully I'll hit a similar one. I'll try and play that same shot that brought on the bad shot. I'll try and play a bit of a cut, see how workable they are. No, I've just absolutely ripped that, and that's cutting wonderfully. Look at that. I'm just going to play a cut, he says, just feathers it back onto the line. P790. Do we think that some people are going to go for the P770 just because it's newer, just because it's the 2020 range, as opposed to people who should maybe be going for the P790, but then this one's newer, so I'm going to go for this one instead? Definitely the P770 looks better, but then if you should be gaming the P790, should you really be gaming the P790 over the P770, or should you just buy the P790? Confused yet? I am. They're both good, they're both good. And guys, the idea of this video is not to confuse you. If you're after buying advice, if you're after what club should I buy, I would hope that this video isn't going to be your definitive, James Robinson said this, so I'm going to go and buy this. Get yourself down to your local pro shop, get yourself down to your local PGA Pro, go to a TaylorMade fitting centre, they'll tell you more than what I can tell you. But can they hit a shot like this? Oh, good lord, that's 197. And I was honestly thinking when I said shot like this, it would be a bad one. And that's spun at 4.8. 4.8, ladies and gentlemen. So unless I hit a bit of a scabby one here, the averages are going to differ quite a lot because of the bad shot I hit with the P770. So I'll show you averages with, averages without. I mean, that's just getting silly now. 197 yards. That to me, that would just catch me out. There's no way, like, I'm not hitting that out on the golf course. But 200 yards, anyone, shall we? That was toey actually, 192 toey, spinning at 4.7. So that's a dozen shots hit with the TaylorMade P770 and the TaylorMade P790. Now, I want to talk to you initially about the looks. And that's all I really need to tell you, because they both look absolutely awesome. Neither of them in the bag, you wouldn't look them in the bag and think, oh, they're mid-handicap irons, they're high-handicap irons. You might, I keep showing them up here, just because the light behind it, I've got a big light over there that's just like making them look amazing, and like I'm looking in the screen here, and anyway, they just look fantastic. Obviously now people know that a P790 is a little bit of a bigger iron. The P770 though, like if you're a mid-handicapper, I'm going to the handicaps again, but if you're a golfer who doesn't get to play very often, ball striking might be a little bit iffy, would like a little bit of extra help, a little bit of extra distance, all day. All day. But how does it compare to the P790? Because I'm just talking now, just rabbiting on, and I apologise. Let's take a look. Right, so I will show you dispersion, even though that is primarily down to the pilot. P790, pretty good. You're going to be happy with those as a 7-iron, aren't you? Especially the distance they've travelled over. P770, a little bit actually looser dispersion, which surprises me, but then the P790 is supposed to be the more forgiving iron, isn't it? You can see how the P770 is definitely going that little bit higher, that little bit more of a mid-launch as opposed to the lower launch. So really what TaylorMade said when we looked on the website, it's kind of giving us that, isn't it? Doing what it says on the tin. What about the numbers? So these are all the numbers without any shots taken out. You can see 190 average carry with the P790, 178 average with the P770. Club speeds both identical, ball speeds, that's a really interesting one. Ball speed kind of 5 miles an hour higher with the same club speed. P790 over P770 obviously. Spinning, now the P770 actually spinning at 5.6 is fairly manageable. We did have one real low spinner, 5,000 on average with the 7 irons, not ideal. What if What if we take out the bad shot, just to play devil's advocate, and then have a look? Still 10 yards in it. That's even more interesting actually, because that's leaving us just with shots that are pretty much exactly the same. Club head speed actually dropped a tiny bit there, taking the bad one out. Spin rates got even further apart. And apart from kind of all that, vertical descent, very similar, 48 as opposed to 50. And I find that really interesting. So I've got all the kind of club specs on here now, and I'll put these on screen now. So initially we're going to talk about the P770. So the P770 7.9 loft is 33 degrees. The lie angle is 62.5 degrees as opposed to 62 degrees with the P790. The offset is 2.4 mil and the length is 37 inches. We go over to the P790, the loft is a little bit stronger as we know at 30.5, so 2.5 degrees of loft, lie angle 62, so half a degree out there, offset 2.9 as opposed to 2.4, so 0.5 of a mil difference. It's hardly even noticeable really, but it is a little bit noticeable to be fair. And then the length is the same at 37 inches, so that doesn't account for 10 yards, does it? It's 2.5 degrees, can it? 10 yards on average. Obviously we could have said that I could have hit more shots, and to be honest I would have loved to have hit more shots, because the real penultimate answer to this video is both of them feel great. Both of them feel good, and depending on what you get fitted for, depending on what your confidence level is, you will decide which irons suit you the most. For me, even though the P7, I keep getting them mixed up again, even though the P790 goes further, I'd go for P770 just because it looks that little bit sleeker, it looks that little bit kind of, not nicer, because nice is not really, it doesn't look nicer, but it looks better, smaller, I don't know. It does, anyway. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that's enjoyed you. I hope it hasn't confused you as much as it's confused me, because that has just confused me, really. But yeah, anyway, apart from that, guys, I'll really look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Let me know what else would you like to see these compared against. And that's it. Cool. Cheers, thanks for watching. Bye.